Most financial stress doesn't come from one bad decision. It comes from habits that feel normal and easy to justify. This video walks through the most common ones and what to do instead. If you recognize yourself in some of these, that's not a bad thing. It just means you're seeing the pattern clearly. By the end of this video, you'll understand why certain money habits keep people stuck and what tends to work better instead. Let's start with one almost everyone has experienced. This is one of the most common financial habits and one of the easiest to fall into. People use credit cards for practical reasons, emergencies, large purchases, tight months, or even just rewards and points. Then the statement arrives. You see the balance and right below it, the minimum payment. And the minimum feels manageable. That's intentional. Minimum payments are designed to keep accounts active, not to help balances disappear quickly. What usually happens is simple. You pay the minimum, interest takes most of it, the balance barely moves. Nothing feels urgent, so nothing changes. Months turn into years, and eventually you realize you're still paying for things you bought a long time ago. Things you may not even remember you bought. Things that didn't improve your life in any lasting way. Carrying balances affects more than interest. It influences how much risk you can take, how flexible your budget is, or how much mental space money occupies. Minimum payments aren't a failure. They're a signal that debt has become comfortable enough to linger. This decision is tricky because it's often encouraged. A nicer car is seen as progress, it looks like success, and people compliment it. But cars are rarely evaluated by total cost. They're evaluated by monthly payment. Once you focus on only the monthly payment, almost any car seems reasonable. What gets overlooked is that most cars cost money continuously. Insurance, maintenance, fuel, repairs, or depreciation. A common situation, someone stretches their budget for a car they really like, or they really want, or thinks they'll make them look really successful. The payment becomes non-negotiable. Now career moves feel riskier, saving feels slower, investing gets delayed, and selling the car doesn't always fix it either, because depreciation can leave you owing more than it's worth. The car didn't cause immediate damage, but it just quietly narrowed future options. And a car should make life easier, not decide how flexible your finances can be. Getting a raise feels good, and it should. Naturally, spending improves. Better housing, more convenience, more comfort. The issue starts when every increase in income immediately turns into an increase in expenses. Over time, income grows, but savings don't. People end up earning more than ever while still feeling stuck, waiting for payday, and expecting the next raise to finally make things easier. But if spending expands at the same pace as income, that relief never arrives. Income growth only helps if it creates space, not just upgrades. Now this one's a bit tricky. Co-signing almost always comes from good intentions. Someone you care about needs help qualifying. They promise to handle the payments, and saying no just feels uncomfortable. What often gets overlooked though is the structure of the agreement. If everything goes perfectly, nothing changes for you. If something goes wrong, the responsibility becomes yours. Late payments affect your credit. Balances affect your borrowing ability. And stress enters the relationship. Most people who co-sign aren't careless, they're just empathetic. Helping someone financially doesn't require sharing liability for their debt. For a lot of people, avoiding investing feels like the responsible choice. They tell themselves that they don't understand it well enough, that they don't want to lose money, or that they'll start once things feel more stable. On the surface, that sounds careful, but what usually happens is that money just sits, and checking accounts are low-interest savings while time keeps moving. This is especially common with people who are otherwise disciplined. They pay their bills, they avoid debt, they're cautious. But caution turns into delay. Here's a very common situation. Someone in their late 20s or 30s earns decent money, saves consistently, but never invests because it feels complicated or intimidating. Years go by, savings grow slowly, and eventually they realize the issue wasn't lack of effort, it was lack of exposure to growth. Meanwhile, inflation quietly reduces what the money can actually buy. This isn't something people notice day to day. Groceries don't double overnight. Rent doesn't spike in a week, but over years, the effect is real. Now imagine two people. Both earn similar incomes, both save. One invests small amounts early and imperfectly. The other waits until they feel confident. The difference later isn't about intelligence, it's just about time. Waiting to feel ready often costs more than starting small and learning along the way. This one doesn't feel like a financial decision, but it shapes many of them. You open social media and see vacations, new cars, upgraded apartments, luxury experiences. Even when you know it's curated, it still affects how you feel about your own life. That feeling of being behind doesn't usually show up as panic. It shows up as a justification. You upgrade sooner than planned, you stretch for an apartment that feels more expensive and impressive, you spend more going out because everyone else seems to, and these decisions don't feel reckless, they feel normal. What rarely shows up on social media though is debt, financial pressure, second thoughts, and stress behind the scenes. And in many cases, what you're seeing isn't permanent anyway. Cars are leased or rented for the day just to make the video, trips are financed, experiences are staged. But your financial commitments are real and long-term. Comparison influences spending quietly, especially when it feels constant. Subscriptions are designed to be ignored. They're small, they're automatic, and they don't require monthly decisions, which is exactly why they add up. A very common scenario, you sign up for a free trial, you forget to cancel, a few dollars leave your account each month. Then happens again and again. And before long, you're paying for streaming services you barely use, apps you forgot about, tools you meant to cancel later. Some people even end up paying for the same service twice under different emails. It's more common than you'd think. Individually, none of these feel meaningful, but together they reduce how much room you have every month. That shows up when saving feels harder than it should. Small expenses feel annoying, and your money feels tighter without a clear reason. Recurring expenses matter because they repeat, not because they're large. Windfalls feel disconnected from everyday money. They arrive all at once. They weren't planned for, and because of that, they often get treated casually. A common pattern looks like this: a tax refund or a bonus hits your account, and spending increases temporarily. A few upgrades happen, life feels lighter for a short time. Then a few months later, everything looks the same as before. Same savings, same debt, same pressure. Nothing went wrong, but nothing changed either. That's why these moments matter more than people realize. Windfalls are rare opportunities to improve your situation without adjusting your lifestyle. You're not cutting back, you're not sacrificing, you're just deciding what the money should do before it disappears into normal spending. People who make progress often do something simple. They split it. Part goes towards reducing pressure, like debt or savings or investments. The other part goes towards enjoyment. That way, the money improves both the present and the future. Unexpected money has the most impact when it's assigned a job early. Financing small purchases feels harmless because it doesn't feel like debt. No big balance, no single painful decision, just a series of low monthly payments. Buy now, pay later, no interest, low commitment. The issue isn't one purchase, it's accumulation. A few financed items turns into many, and eventually, a portion of each paycheck is already committed before you even see it. This shows up subtly. Saving feels slower, flexibility disappears, and unexpected expenses feel heavier. And many people can't even remember what they're paying for. They just know their money feels partially pre-spent. This kind of debt doesn't cause panic, it creates limitation. Flexibility comes from keeping future income uncommitted. Credit doesn't feel urgent, ever, until it suddenly matters. Most people aren't reckless with credit, they just don't watch it. Late payments happen, balances creep up, old accounts are forgotten, reports aren't checked. Then one day, you apply for a loan, you try to get an apartment, you try to buy a house, and the cost difference becomes obvious. Two people can make the same purchase, with the same income and at the same price. However, one pays significantly more over time, purely because of credit. And fixing credit isn't fast, unfortunately. It reflects patterns built over years. That's why paying attention earlier makes such a difference later. Credit shapes how expensive your future decisions become. Now, none of these decisions create immediate problems on their own. They influence how flexible, affordable, and stressful life feels over time. The good news is that once these patterns are visible, they're easier to interrupt. You don't need to fix everything today. You don't need a perfect system. You just need to stop making decisions that quietly work against you. If this video helped, send it to someone who might recognize themselves in it, because most people never hear this explained clearly. And if you want the flip side of this conversation, the decisions that quietly make life easier, that's exactly what the next video is about. So make sure you subscribe.